I think most almost everyone is here now, so I guess we'll get started. So, welcome to this app presentation where Isaac, Annie, and Will be talking about their Congressional Award-winning app. And before we get started, I'd like to introduce a nonprofit organization me and Isaac both founded. So, um, I'll screen share. Sorry. All right. So here is our website for our nonprofit organization called AI for Abilities. So essentially, our purpose is as a nonprofit youth charity organization, we are aiming to develop, explore, and introduce innovative technologies that enrich the lives of disabled children and do collaborative efforts such as designing apps, solutions, and going to nonprofit events to learn more about children with disabilities. So throughout the year, essentially what we do is that we collaborate with each other and create different apps um, that focus on helping people with disabilities regarding their learning abilities or any other problems that they face throughout life. And additionally, we also do a lot of fundraising events such as selling arts through collaborating with Sword Kids Arts and Sunbury Art Studio Arts, where we do art competitions and sell artwork. And if you want to learn more about this organization, I'll send the link in the chat. And on the website, there is our socials if you want to message on Instagram.
All right, so I guess I'll take over now. So I guess this is just like our experience participating in the 2024 Congressional App Challenge, and it's by me, Annie, and then Will. So I guess we'll start off like with what the actual Congressional App Challenge is. So it's a nationwide coding competition that's separated by individual congressional districts. And for us, we participated in one of the Alabama congressional districts. I think it was AL03. And the purpose of this competition is to encourage the development of like apps and other software for solving real world issues. And in our experience, most people created apps to solve like real world issues, but some other people also created like website and other applications. So anything along that line is basically accepted. And yeah, we basically ended up creating an app for this challenge, and then we then got to participate in House of Code, where we introduced our app and then shared it with others. And so here's just a picture of like the actual event and then us presenting our app at the event. Yeah, so while we were there, we also like looked at the other, I guess, app topics. And some of the like more notable ones were just wildfires and natural disasters. There was physical and mental health, and there's also recycling and other environment issues. And what this basically just, I guess the thing to learn from this is that as long as your app addresses a relevant issue in like your region, there's a good chance that you can create an app that will stand out compared to the other apps in the challenge. And an example of this is that since there were a lot of wildfires in California last year, many people decided to create apps to help fight and also help people who were suffering from suffering from wildfires and other natural disasters. And then the other two issues are always going to be relevant in our society. Okay.
Okay, so going into our app specifically, We focused on health. It's a huge issue right now, and specifically we were looking at Alzheimer's. If we look at kind of the global impact or of Alzheimer's, we see that just in America there's around 6.9 million Americans age 65 and over who have Alzheimer's, and this is just in 2024. Alzheimer's remains the fifth leading cause of death among Americans who are age 65 and older. And additionally, the US is facing growing shortages in people who are caring for these Alzheimer's patients because they're growing, and it's also a lot of training involved to actually make them good caregivers. But additionally, we also focused on this issue because of its regional impact. As you can kind of see in the news clipping on the side, Alabama is around third highest in terms of Alzheimer's related mortality. So it's when we were approaching the Congressional App Challenge, it was kind of this combination of looking at what's a huge issue globally, but also something we can focus on locally. So as Isaac mentioned, there were projects on wildfires from California. There were other projects focusing on like recycling, on budgeting, on just various issues that local communities face. And I think that's besides just covering how our project began, I think it's also worth noting how you can create a project by examining the issues you face in your daily life. So going a bit into the specific functionality of our app was called Hua. This was inspired by our grandmother's name, and she's beginning to show signs of early memory loss, which could indicate Alzheimer's. So our app specifically was a family journaling app with the purpose of both delaying the memory loss of our loved ones, but also preserving cherished memories. So this is kind of outlined in the bullet points. We wanted to reduce the development speed of memory loss diseases, and this is emphasized through various exercise activities, both mental and physical. Um, it allows the jobs of caretakers to be easier as there's something to keep track of them. There's like texting functionalities as well as finding home, like functions to find your home in case you get lost. And lastly, saving memories. So this would be recipes, important moments, all of that.
So after we came up with the issue we wanted to solve, we started researching on what may help people with Alzheimer's and getting feedback from people who are currently suffering with it. And then during this time, we created multiple drafts with different features we would want to add to our app. And here's an example of a chart we made. So the first one is the login screen. We came up with 6 different features. And the first one is My Day, which is a mood test and a medicine log. This helps the patient track if they have taken their medicine every day, and also allows family members to help keep up too. And exercise, we came up with physical and mental exercises such as yoga, tai chi, and Sudoku and crossword. And then for memories, we added family recipes and memorable events. So for family recipes, family members can keep track of healthy recipes and for memorable events, it's like a journaling app, and they can save uh, special memories in the app. The next one is learning. We have self-diagnosis, and once they take the diagnosis test, they can look at general information on Alzheimer's and ask AI if they have any further questions. The next one is find home. So initially, when the family creates an app, they will enter a home address, which will then automatically set on the map. So whenever someone gets lost, they can open the map and find their way home. And the last one is family chat. Family chat allows everyone in the family to communicate quickly. So essentially what we did is we made an app that combined many features that allows families and people suffering from Alzheimer's to have to make it quick and easily accessible for like resources. So here are some examples of the screens in our app. The first one is the home screen. So after you create an account, it shows your name and the different functions. And for this is my day, you have the mood test and the medicine log. And for memories, here is the family recipes and memorable events. You can take photos and record them. And for Learn, this is the diagnostic test we came up with. More resources would allow you to access the AI chat and additional general information. And for the Find Home, this is what it would show if you were to open the function. It shows you how to get home. And for family chat, you would put in your username like mom, dad, or your name and what you want to send in chat. So we actually have the video we submitted to Congressional App Challenge, and this one has the full app demo in it.
Hello, I'm Annie.
Hi, I'm Isaac.
Our app Hua is inspired by my grandmother's early signs of memory loss due to Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a progressive disease that not only robs individuals of their memories and cognitive functions, but deeply affects their families as well. As of 2024, there is an estimated 6.9 million Americans aged 65 and older who are living with Alzheimer's disease, which remains the fifth leading cause of death in this age group. Alabama has the third highest rate of Alzheimer's in the nation, posing a significant economic and social burden on families. Unfortunately, there is no way to prevent or cure Alzheimer's. Hua is designed to offer support by engaging families in healthy, meaningful activities while also providing access to critical medical resources. What sets Hua apart is its unique ability to combine vital tools and information into a single, easily accessible app. This app not only aims to delay onset Alzheimer's but also serves as a memory bank for those already affected. Hua incorporates various technologies like MIT App Inventor, ChatGPT, PostNet extension, text-to-speech, Google Maps services, and CloudDB.
Now let's move on to a demo of our app. After logging into our app, you'll be brought to the main screen, and once you click the My Day button, it will bring you to a screen that asks about your mood and whether or not you have taken your medicine, and this will help monitor a person's daily health. After completing the checkup, you can then go to the exercise section. When you click on the physical button and the yoga button, it will generate a tutorial of the exercise and also show the parts of your body. You can click the next button to look at the next video and toggle the camera if you want to see yourself rather than just lines. Moving back to the main part, when you click on the brain button, you will be given a choice of either a Sudoku or a crossword puzzle. When you click on one of the buttons, it will bring you to that puzzle.
Moving on to memories, users can record and share healthy recipes with their families, making it an easily accessible family cookbook. For memorable events, users can capture special moments with the camera function and journal their cherished memories in their online diary.
In the Learn section, there are 3 options. The self-diagnosis will ask you questions in which you'll answer with a number between 1 to 5. There are a total of 20 questions, and you'll get a result once you answer all the questions. So moving on to the general information part, you can choose a topic from this list and it'll show you some basic information about it. And you can also ask AI a question. You also have a part of the app that helps you find your home if you are lost. It uses your current location and the location inputted during the creation of the account, and it provides a map and directions to help a lost person find their way back home. Finally, we have a chat section that allows family members to communicate with each other. You first input your username and then input the message that you want to send, and as you can see, there's 2 messages here from different users.
Hua is not just an app. It's a lifelong companion, empowering families to delay Alzheimer's, cherish memories, and embrace meaningful moments on their journey together.
So when we were designing this app, we had to keep a few things in mind, which is people suffering from Alzheimer's are usually age 65 or older. So when we were designing our apps, we specifically used certain bright colors to emphasize like different functions and stuff, and use it as highlights rather than making the entire app very colorful. And we also wanted to make it generalizable to everyone. So those who are because of genetics, they might be more prone to get Alzheimer's, would want to use the app to help delay the onset of the disease. And we also considered how people who are already suffering from it would be able to use the app. So in general, just who the users would be and how we would design the app to make it easy for them to use.
So getting back into the tools, so I know like the video covered like the main tools that we used, but I guess I'll go like a bit more in depth into them. So for our main language, we chose MIT App Inventor because we were previously familiar with it, and since it's an easy platform to use for app development, that comes with a lot of previous tools that can help that helped us to create the features that we included in our final app. We also used AI in our app in like multiple sections, and in one of the sections, we used it to help just provide more information if a person was curious about stuff like the further causes of dementia or ways to like reduce the development speed of um, memory loss issues. And we also use AI in like allowing for the user to have a conversation with AI in case they just want to like talk instead of just only finding information. And for PostNet extension, we use that for the physical and health exercise section. So our original goal for the section was to allow for a person and make it easier for them to perform physical exercises that could help to maintain their health, that could uh, slow down the development speed of Alzheimer's. And what we basically did with the extension was we created this part of the screen that you could watch, and then it would show like key parts of your bodies, like your head, your shoulder, and like your arms and legs. And then it could show you if you're having the proper form. And so, in order to help, I guess, show people how to properly do the exercises, we then linked them to videos online of tutorials of how to do it. And to make sure that they had enough choices, we found multiple videos online by using built-in features from MIT App Inventor that allowed for us to do a web search with certain features. And then that eventually allowed us uh, sh to find videos for both yoga and Tai Chi, and then provide a way for people to get uh like a reflection of themselves doing the exercises, and then it would help allow them to know if whether they were doing it correctly or not. And then the next feature that we used was like a combination of both text to speech and also just taking a voice as an input. So for text to speech, we basically allowed for the app to actually read out its responses. So let's say that the a person was trying to search up further information, instead of needing to read all the information that it would like return, it could then just the app could then just speak it out loud, and that would allow for a person to just listen rather than read. And also in that part where we had a conversation between the user and then the AI, we allowed for the AI to like verbally respond, which would make it more interactive with the user. And for taking text or for taking voice input, we decided to implement this feature because it would make it more easy to use the app, as I know that's kind of difficult for older people to like type up information quickly. So instead of just having a person type up any questions or responses they had, they could instead just use their voice and then talk because it's a lot faster and easier. And then the next main feature we use is Google Maps. So we use this in the part where we try to make a map that shows um like a route of between a person's home and like where they currently are. And so Google Maps basically allowed us to take a person's current position and also take a person's like inputted address, which we stored previously when like a person created the account. And then using Google Maps, it allowed us to pinpoint the locations on a map and then actually show like dotted path between the two, which I'll show on a previous slide. And one last thing is that we also implemented simple instructions. So instead of just needing to follow a path, there is written instructions that can also be read out to a person if they chose, which would allow for them to like which would make it even easier for them to actually find their home, as there could just be instructions such as turn left on the street or go forward. And then the last main tool that we use is CloudDB, which is just a database where we use to store a lot of information, as we needed information or ways to store information about each person's account and like family log chats and also passwords for their account. And for specifically for the passwords, we use Firebase DB, and I'll discuss more about that later. So here's some of the sample code, and although it doesn't look very complicated, it doesn't have to be, since as long as it accomplishes its main functionality, which in this case is finding the video and then providing access to it, and also developing the PostNet extension feature and allowing per person to use it. And I think just the main thing to note about the code is that we split it up into many different parts to make it easier to read. And yeah, MIT, and we use MIT App Inventor due to its, I guess, easily because it's easy to understand. And yeah, it also allows you to create apps. So then here's an example of like the actual interface of one of the screens. And in this case, it's just the map function. So you can see here how we have like an actual map, and then we have two markers. And what this basically would do is it would just move the markers depending on the person's current position and the position stored inside the app. And yes, these are all built in MIT App Inventor blocks. You have maps, markers, strings, and then different arrangements to actually format the app and make it look better, and also buttons and lists that allow for a user to actually interact with the app. And another thing to note to like, I guess, improve the visual component of the app is that we added spacers, and these are just labels that are invisible that allow us to control like the position of the different features and just put space between them so that they were easier to look at. And so, although like we use MIT App Inventor, there are definitely a lot more other things that you can use to create apps. And while we were at House of Code and like we're watching other people's projects, we saw that others used Xcode/Swift to create apps. They use the website building languages such as HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And they also used other platforms like React, which then uses JavaScript. And then although, uh, so these also work, but they might be slightly harder to use and understand than MIT App Inventor due to being like full-fledged coding languages instead of just block-based coding. But they do have the potential to have even more functionality than something from like MIT App Inventor, because it's not like pre-built and you basically write all the code for your app. So we did experience a lot of technical issues during like the development, and I think one of the main ones was there's a problem with like code integration. So since we were using MIT App Inventor, there's no like really easy way to collaborate with each other, which basically led us to writing our own code and then either having to manually combine them or having like or having the code accidentally like overwrite each other, which means that when like let's say I wrote code and then Annie also wrote code, there's a chance that her code could just over like write mine and then mine would just disappear. We also had some data storage issues since we needed to store a lot of information, and using only the cloud database made it kind of difficult to actually organize this information and make it easy to find. And we also had some user interface design issues since we needed to make that user interface like visually appealing, but also easy to use, which was a balance that we weren't like originally sure of how to reach. So the eventual solutions that we came up to were using a shared account, using other databases like Firebase, and also just looking at other apps. So to solve the issue of having like problems combining the code, we basically just used a shared account, and we also had a timeshare system. So instead of just working at the same time, we would like tell each other when we were working on the app, and then that that way, instead of like overwriting each other's code by accident, we could then just both work on it on the same account, which made it easy to create the app and also have like no issues with actually saving the code. And so we used Firebase database in order to actually store the usernames and passwords for the app, which was a lot more easier than using the cloud database since Firebase database has some built-in features that make storing usernames and passwords easier. And it also helped us clear up some of the information that we stored in cloud database, which basically helped make our app more organized and manageable. And for our user interface, we basically looked at other apps to see what they were doing. And then we also took some feedback from people who weren't like directly involved in the app development process. And this helped us know whether or not like certain, I guess, design choices would be beneficial to the app and its users, which in this case is people with Alzheimer's. And we eventually just decided based on looking at other apps and also just on feedback that would be better to have a more simplistic design that favors functionality over like actual looks.
Okay, so kind of covering the future plans for our app. Firstly, we want to implement more text-to-speech because this will make the entire app just more accessible to the intended audience, which is older people. Some of our other features also include cross-platform availability. So right now, this was designed on MIT App Inventor, so it's a bit limited in that it would mainly be released as an app that's well suited for Android, but we could design this to work with Apple, potentially with computers. There's a lot of potential there. We also want to make it so that it's available in multiple languages, so not just in English, which it's set at right now. We want it to have like translation available so that people from other nations that are suffering from the same issues can use it.
Yeah, so one thing to know is like although like our app, I guess, was successful at its main purpose of helping people with Alzheimer's disease and also helping their caretakers, there's still like many improvements that we could have made and just more features that we could have added to improve its functionality and just make it a better app overall. And that just basically means that even if you finish creating an app, there's still always room for improvement, which is something that we could address if we wanted to continue, I guess, improving our app.
Yeah, so covering kind of the lessons we learned from our app. Firstly, as I kind of covered in the introduction, you need to find a issue that is relevant, both maybe globally or locally, to develop a successful app because these apps are judged by kind of like a panel of computer scientists, potentially recruited by your local government official. So being able to create an app that appeals to them, that the government official, your local congressman, is able to connect with is important. Additionally, you are able to use an app development platform as long as the app has a clear impact. So I know like while we were at Congressional App Challenge, some would code it from scratch, but others like us would be using MIT App Inventor. I believe someone actually used Roblox Studio to create their app. So any sort of platform is possible. And lastly, you want to focus on new technologies to make the app be able to perform functions that haven't been available in past releases. So we focused on integrating AI into our app, And while we were at the Congressional App Challenge, many others had done the same. They made a lot of live features, so their apps could pull data from sources like Google Maps, which we mentioned. So using new technologies is also a great way to make your app stand out. And lastly, having a reliable data storage system is important so that each user is able to have kind of their um, own interactions with the app. This is just your basic stuff like login systems, but also stored chat messages, stored addresses for where you live. These are all important to learn.
Yeah, so if you're planning to participate in the Congressional App Challenge in the future, you should keep these tips in mind and know that you should like basically have a very organized plan if you want to like create an app that like stands out and also succeeds at solving like your issue that you're trying to focus on. And so like here's just like an overall summary of our entire app.
Yeah.
And
So this was actually the summary we designed for the actual Congressional App Challenge conference at the White House. Because they allow you to bring a poster. So we use this kind of as a crutch to basically support our presentation. But also, it's generally we put it in here besides like providing an example of what you can do. We put this in here to also kind of summarize everything, so you can see how all the we kind of covered the all these points in our presentation today. We have the introduction, we have the purpose, features and technologies, kind of our conclusion, and our future plans. And below is kind of like a snippet of our demo. There's a lot more features involved, but these were the ones that we felt were most important and decided to include on our poster.
so does anyone have any questions? Okay, well, if anyone has any questions, then I guess that's it.
Oh, someone mentioned that the app looks complicated for old people. So, thank you for kind of that input. But responding to that question, we wanted to integrate as many features as possible. Because this isn't an app just for people who are suffering from dementia. It's going to be something that their families or their healthcare providers are able to um, share in terms of usage. And that was also one of the concerns we were facing and that we were worried about while we were developing our app. So that's why we focused on using a lot of bright colors, short descriptors, and large text to really make it readable for older people. So there's a lot of like features involved, but I would say we focused on optimizing it to be the best for both the people suffering from dementia, their family members, as well as healthcare providers.
Yeah, and I think adding on, even if it like maybe is a bit more complicated than it has to be, I still feel like our app was pretty simple and it's I think pretty easy to understand what it does. So, but that could also just be one of the, I guess, additional limitations of our app since it's hard to design an app with so many features and also make it as like simplistic as possible. So we're like in the middle between the two. So does anyone have any more questions? Oh,
Um, Mo just asked a question. How long did it take your team to implement your ideas and develop this app? Do you guys want to?
So I think the actual development process maybe took I think 1 to 2 months. But I think due to our previous experience with like app development, the actual like development part didn't take as long. And I think half the time might have been spent on like actually coming up with an idea and then designing all the features, while the other half was just creating the actual app and then testing it to make sure it worked properly and just made covered all the features that we wanted. So it didn't take too long, but depending on like your previous experience, uh, it could take longer. So just keep that in mind.
Yes, all three of us have interacted with MIT App Inventor to some extent. So we had prior experience. However, I would say it is still pretty user friendly. It's more of a block-based coding since it's kind of like Scratch. You just drag things around and edit them. So it's a good start. But yes, we had prior experience. Developing the idea, as Isaac mentioned, is definitely the hardest part because you have to kind of you have to observe like what is a problem in your community, and that's just there's so many potential things you can address that it's like you have to find the one that is like you're just thinking like, wow, this idea is perfect. In terms of fixing the code, that's also a thing. You don't want to just turn in your project immediately after you're done. You want to leave yourself enough time to actually debug the app. Like for the Alzheimer's, like for the quiz on kind of assessing whether you show signs of Alzheimer's, there was an issue there where um I think we set like the number. Initially, we had a larger set of questions that we were going to put in the quiz, but after we shortened it, we didn't readjust the kind of boundaries for evaluating whether someone doesn't have any signs of dementia, has signs of dementia, or has severe signs of dementia. So debugging that was like we found that there was an issue there where it would always show you had signs of dementia no matter how many answers you got, no matter how many answers you got right or wrong. So in that case, we had to recalculate all the boundaries. So there's a lot of debugging just involved.
Oh yeah, and like one more note about this entire process is that like creating an actual presentation and video of the app is like just as important as actually creating the app because if you don't present your app properly, then it won't look like as I guess functional as you want it to be and like as impactful as I guess you'd want it to be. So besides just creating the app, you also need to make sure that you have a good presentation of your app and that you share all your ideas properly.
Yes, that's another thing. Each person also has different like ways of learning how to present, so there's no like you kind of have to find the method of presentation that suits you best. I know some people who are able to just go into a presentation. They have an understanding of their project already, so they're just able to talk. But like for me, I have to kind of create bullet points of what I'm going to talk about, kind of commit them to memory, and then um, bring them up as present a project. And some people have entire scripts planned out, so that's a factor you definitely need to account for.
Okay, does anyone else have a question?
Okay, HNG asked whether the app is available now for public to download and use, and if yes, how frequently will the app be updated? Okay, addressing that issue, we were going to upload the app to the App Store, but in that, I found there was a lot of issues involved. Firstly, there's the thing that like we have to we were all like under 18 at the time we developed this app. There's the issue that if you want to upload an app to the App Store, there's barriers such as you have to be 18 or above. There's a lot of financial details like those also serve as huge barriers. Like they're asking, are you going to make profit? How you're going to deal with these issues. There's also some strict rules against like healthcare apps that we're trying to navigate. Um, you can't. Our app is more of like a journaling app and kind of keeping track of someone's disease. And there's a fine line between that and an app that is like um an actual like health tracker or like something that provides medication. So I think that's a lot of barriers that Congressional App Challenge um, projects face when releasing it because it's a good healthcare app, but there's a lot of barriers you have to consider. So right now we're trying to get that worked out, and depending on how well it goes and whether we're able to sort it out with the Google Play Store team, then we will be able to release the app. But that also means that like if you don't want to focus on healthcare and encounter this many barriers, you can also develop something like a wildfire app, which some people have been doing. So there's a lot of ways you can navigate this complex process. But I would say if you're under 18 right now, you just want to focus on honing your app skills, building a good app, and then maybe if you're like once you hit that age and you're ready to develop whether it's an organization or release it under your own name, which that is also a concern that I almost forgot to mention, then you can decide to actually polish up your app and present it to the App Store.
Yeah, and I think like this just showcases another like limitation of MIT App Inventor. So like due to like it being like a block-based coding language and just easier to use than others, it's also harder to like actually publish as an app on the App Store compared to others. So that's just something I guess to know and like address for if you decide to create your own app.
Yes, like some people will release all their code on GitHub. Others will use what was the word? I know some people release games on like sites like itch.io, which have like less restrictions in that regard. So MIT App Inventor has limitations, but it is a good starting platform. And after after you like actually learn the basics of app coding, remember Congressional App Challenge is kind of more flexible. You want to be making an app, but some people have just made straight up websites. If you want to go that direction, that is totally fine.
Okay. Well, I guess if there's no more questions, then I guess that's it for the presentation.